My name is Elise. I'm 29 years old, and 3 months ago, I found out that the money my grandfather left for me was no longer mine. It had been transferred, quietly, without my knowledge, into my brother Ethan's account. And the best part? It happened a week before his destination wedding. While I was still smiling at family dinners, helping my mom pick table linens, and pretending everything was fine, it wasn't. But let me back up a bit. I grew up in a small city outside San Diego. My family's not rich, not poor, just average in a way that made every dollar count. My grandfather, Dad's dad, was the only one in the family who truly believed in me. He used to call me his little storm, quiet, but never to be underestimated. He saw how hard I worked, the late nights, the part-time jobs, the scholarships, while Ethan, 2 years older, effortlessly charming, barely lifted a finger, and still got everything handed to him. When Grandpa passed, he left me something in his will. Not millions, but enough. Enough to cover my grad school, maybe buy a small place someday. He called it seed money for whatever future you choose, Elise. Those were his words. I never touched the money. Not even once. It sat in a trust account, untouched for 3 years. I had plans. I wanted to finish my clinical psychology degree, maybe start a practice one day, or at least get out of this 2-bedroom apartment with the flickering kitchen light I kept forgetting to fix. Then came the call. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I just wrapped up a session with a teenage client when my phone rang. It was my mother. I answered with a smile. "Hey, Mom." But her voice was off. Too cheerful, too rehearsed. "Elise, honey, I need to tell you something before you hear it from someone else." I stood still, already sensing the drop. "It's about the inheritance." Silence. I didn't speak. She continued. "Your father and I, we transferred it to Ethan." My chest tightened. She said it like she was ordering takeout. Like it wasn't life-changing. Like it wasn't betrayal. "Why?" I asked. My voice didn't even sound like mine. She sighed. "Sweetheart, he's getting married. He and Jenna want to buy a house, and you're not using it right now." That sentence hit me like a slap. Not using it right now. As if that justified stealing it. As if dreams had an expiration date. I hung up without saying another word. Then I sat in silence for over an hour. My hands shook. Not with sadness. With fury. Because what they didn't know, what no one knew, was that I still had access. Not to the money, but to something else. The clause Grandpa left behind. The one my parents forgot existed. And that was going to change everything. The next morning, I woke up before sunrise. I hadn't slept much. Just stared at the ceiling with clenched fists and a storm brewing in my chest. I wasn't sad. I wasn't even shocked. I was done. I brewed coffee, sat by the window, and opened the black binder I kept at the back of my closet. The one with Grandpa's will. The original copy. Because unlike my parents, I actually read every line. Clause 14. I remember it like scripture. If any transfer is made from the trust account without Elise's written consent before her 30th birthday, the funds are to be immediately frozen and held in escrow, pending a full legal review. I remember when Grandpa made me initial that clause. He looked me straight in the eye and said, "Just in case someone decides they know better than you." Back then, I laughed. I didn't realize he was preparing me for this exact betrayal. So I logged into the trust portal. My login still worked. I clicked Access Safeguard Options. There it was. Freeze clause. Trigger manually if unauthorized transfer detected. I hovered my mouse. My heart pounded. But I didn't click it. Not yet. Not before I did some digging. I called the firm that managed the trust. A polite voice answered. "Prescott and Lane. How may I help you?" I gave my name, my trustee ID, and then asked a very simple question. When exactly was the transfer made? There was a pause, then some typing. Looks like the full amount, $184,000, was wired to a joint account under Ethan and Jenna's names last Thursday. Joint account. Of course. Because what's better than giving my future away? Giving it to two people who think wedding hashtags and poolside photos are financial strategy? Was there written authorization from me? I asked. Another pause. No, it says verbal consent via guardian. My eyes narrowed. Guardian? Yes. Your father is listed as secondary custodian on file. Of course he is. Because I was 25 when the trust was set up. Not quite 26. Just young enough that they had legal wiggle room, but now I was 29. Months from turning 30. And that clause? Oh. It was still very much alive. I hung up and stared out the window. My hands weren't shaking anymore. I was calm, steady, like the eye of the storm. Ethan was leaving for his honeymoon in 3 days. Some private resort in Tulum. Jenna had already posted 10 Instagram stories about it. Grateful for our forever, one caption read. And below it, a boomerang of Ethan popping champagne, probably paid for with my future. That's when I made the decision. I wasn't going to call my parents. I wasn't going to argue with Ethan. I wasn't even going to warn them. I was going to click one button and let the consequences write themselves. That night, I didn't eat dinner, didn't watch TV, didn't scroll through social media. I just sat there staring at my laptop screen. The cursor hovered over that one option. Trigger Clause 14, freeze account. It felt surreal. One click, and everything would stop. No house. No honeymoon shopping spree. No mortgage pre-approval. Just silence. Just consequences. I took a breath. Then I clicked. A pop-up appeared. Are you sure? I didn't blink. Yes. Submit. There was no fireworks display. No dramatic sound effect. Just a small confirmation window. Transfer has been frozen. Legal review initiated. And that was it. A quiet button, a digital whisper. But in the real world, I had just detonated a bomb. The next morning, I went to work like it was any other day. No one could tell anything had changed. Except me. Something inside me had clicked too. The part of me that always justified. Always forgave. Always stayed small so others could shine. It was gone. By 2 p.m., the first call came in. Blocked number. I knew who it was. I didn't answer. Let it ring. Then the text began. Mom. Sweetheart, there's a problem with Ethan's bank account. Did you change something? Dad. Elise, call me, now. I put my phone on silent and slid it into my desk drawer. Because for the first time in years, their panic wasn't mine to fix. It was theirs. Later that evening, my best friend Liana dropped by. She brought Thai food and 2 bottles of wine, like she knew I needed both. We sat on my floor eating pad thai straight from the carton. She looked at me and raised an eyebrow. You've got that. I set something on fire but didn't get burned. Look again. I smirked. Tulum's about to get real awkward. I told her everything. Every detail. The will. The clause. The theft. And the freeze. She didn't interrupt. Didn't gasp. Just nodded slowly, like she'd been waiting for me to finally stand up. About damn time, she said. Then we toasted. To silence. To storms. To not being the family doormat anymore. By midnight, my phone had 23 missed calls. 1 voicemail from Ethan. Elise, what the hell? Our account's locked. Jenna's freaking out. We can't even pay for the honeymoon villa deposit. This is insane. Call me back now. I didn't call him back. I just saved the voicemail. Because I had a feeling I might need it later. At 3 a.m., my mom texted again. Whatever this is, fix it before Ethan's flight. Please. Be reasonable. But that's the thing. I had been reasonable. Too reasonable. And now? Sigh. I was just being fair. 2 days later, Ethan got married. On a beach. With drone footage and a string quartet. They streamed it live on Jenna's Instagram for people who couldn't make it. I wasn't invited. Correction, I was invited, then uninvited after I asked if they planned to pay me back. You're being petty, Jenna said. It's just money. You weren't even using it. Right, just money, just my grandfather's final gift, just my future, regifted like a clearance blender at a bridal shower. So I watched the wedding online, not to torture myself, just to see how deep the performance would go. And there they were. Jenna in her lace gown, Ethan in a white suit that didn't fit quite right, smiling, laughing, pretending nothing was wrong, pretending their bank account wasn't frozen, pretending they hadn't built a future on theft. But I saw it. The strain. The way Jenna's smile faltered when someone mentioned the honeymoon. The way Ethan checked his phone between photos. They were unraveling in real time. And I was the only one who knew why. That night, I got a call. Blocked number again. I answered this time. I was ready. It was my father. His voice, sharp. You made your point. Now fix it. No hello, no apology, just a demand. Like I was the family's emergency switchboard operator. I didn't make a point, I said calmly. I enforced a clause in a legal document. One you violated. He scoffed. We're family, Elise. Family doesn't take each other to court. I swallowed hard, and for a second, I almost let him guilt me. Almost. But then, I remembered all of it. The silence. The favoritism. The theft. The erasure. No, I said. Family doesn't steal from each other either. You made your choice when you gave him my inheritance. A pause. You're blowing this out of proportion. No, I replied. You shrank me down for years. This is just me returning to size. He hung up. Of course. Cowards never say goodbye. Just click. Just vanish. But this time, I didn't cry. I didn't tremble. I just stood by my window and looked out at the night. Somewhere across the world, Ethan was probably in a resort lobby with a frozen card and an angry bride. And the thing about destination weddings? Kayar. You can't run from the consequences when you're trapped on the same island. The next day, my inbox pinged. An email from the trust firm. Subject: escrow process initiated. Pending legal mediation. I smiled. The process had begun. No one could touch the money now. Not them. Not even me. It was locked. And the only way to unlock it was to tell the truth. 3 days after the wedding, I got an invitation. Not a party. Not a thank you. A family meeting. My mom texted, "We need to talk. Sunday, 4 p.m., come home." Home, funny word. Because after everything, it didn't feel like home anymore. Just a place full of memories I was trying to outgrow. I wasn't going to go. But then, Liana said something that stuck. Go. Not for them, for you. Let them hear your silence in person. So I went. Not out of guilt, not out of hope, just to close a chapter the way it deserved to be closed. When I walked in, the living room was staged. Neat. Unnaturally quiet. Like they were all waiting for an intervention that had already failed. Mom sat stiffly on the couch. Dad stood by the fireplace, arms crossed. And Ethan was pacing like he was waiting to be called into a courtroom. Jenna wasn't there. Probably smart. Or maybe she'd finally had enough. I sat down. No one offered tea. No one smiled. We got straight to the tension. My father spoke first. Do you understand what you've done? I looked at him, then turned to Ethan. I think the better question is, do you? Ethan stopped pacing. You ruined our honeymoon. No, I corrected. You ruined it the moment you used money that wasn't yours, he scoffed. It was just sitting there. You weren't even touching it. So by that logic, I said, if your neighbor leaves his car in the garage too long, you get to take it for a joyride? My mother flinched. Sweetheart, this is not like that. It's exactly like that, I said. And you knew it. You knew the clause existed? Her face went pale. She didn't deny it. She couldn't. Dad tried to pivot. We were just trying to help both of you. You don't even have a family yet, Elise. Ethan does. I stared at him. Cold. Clear. So you're saying I only matter when I have a husband? Silence. A long, bitter silence. Then my mom leaned in. "What do you want from us? An apology? Fine, we're sorry." I nodded slowly. "No, you're not. You're just sorry the money's locked." Ethan snapped. "This is revenge. You're punishing us." I stood. "I'm not punishing anyone. I'm protecting myself. And Grandpa's wishes." I walked to the door, paused, then turned. "You had a choice. You made it. And now, so have I." And with that, I left. No hug. No dramatic exit. Just the sound of the truth hanging in the air behind me. The following week was quiet. Not peaceful, quiet. Just still. Like the space between lightning and thunder. My phone barely buzzed. No angry texts. No guilt-trip voicemails. Just silence. I thought it would feel good. But honestly, it just felt like a new kind of loneliness. Then the emails started. First from the trust firm. Initial mediation meeting scheduled. All parties must attend. Then from a lawyer. Not mine. Ethan's. Trying to act polite. Trying to suggest we, quote, resolve this privately without dragging the family into a legal battle. Too late. The family was already in it. They just didn't realize the war had started years ago. I replied once. Simple. Straightforward. The clause is clear. The transfer was unauthorized. I am open to mediation, not manipulation. I forwarded the message to my own lawyer. Yes, I got one. A quiet, brilliant woman named Sophia. She read everything twice, then simply said, "Legally, you're standing on a mountain. Let them try to climb it." Meanwhile, Jenna had started posting cryptic Instagram stories. Black and white quotes like, "Sometimes betrayal comes from those closest to you," and "Real queens don't beg for their crowns." Someone in her comments asked if the honeymoon got canceled. She deleted the post within minutes. I screenshotted it, because documentation matters. A few days later, Ethan called again. I picked up this time. He sounded tired, worn down. "I just want to know what it would take for you to release the funds." I didn't hesitate. A formal written statement acknowledging the breach, and a full repayment plan signed by both you and Dad. He laughed bitterly. "You think we're going to grovel?" I smiled, but he couldn't see it. "I don't want groveling. I want accountability." He hung up. But this time, I knew something had shifted. Not in them, in me. Because I didn't feel rage anymore. I didn't feel the need to explain myself. I didn't even feel sad. I felt strong, stable, like someone who had finally stopped watering dead plants. 2 days later, Sophia emailed me a draft. Unconditional release agreement. It was everything I asked for, down to the cent. I didn't send it to Ethan. Not yet. I wanted them to come to me. Not because I needed the satisfaction, but because I needed them to admit what they did. Out loud. In writing. I'd spent 29 years cleaning up their messes. Now? I was just sitting still and watching them try to clean up mine. Only difference? Mine came with receipts. The honeymoon didn't last. Not just the trip. The entire illusion. 1 week after the wedding, Jenna posted a photo of her alone at the airport. No caption. Just her sunglasses on, lips pressed tight, and a single emoji. Whole. Ethan wasn't in the photo. Ethan wasn't even in the country anymore. They'd cut the trip short. Why? Posts. Because their joint account was still frozen. They had booked luxury without liquidity. Paid deposits with money that wasn't real anymore. The hotel canceled. The resort refused to extend credit. The honeymoon ended with an overdraft fee and an Uber ride to the airport. 2 days later, Jenna's mom called my mom, then my mom called me. I didn't answer. Then came the voicemail. "Elise, for God's sake, whatever point you're trying to make, you've made it. Ethan and Jenna are going through enough. Be the bigger person." Be the bigger person. The family's favorite phrase. Translation. Please go back to being the unpaid emotional janitor of this mess. I poured myself a cup of tea and replayed the message twice. Not because I needed to hear it again, but because I wanted to remember the tone. It was desperation wrapped in entitlement, a familiar sound, one I'd learned to ignore. Then came an unexpected twist. Jenna emailed me. A full email. Proper greeting. Even punctuation. Subject, just between us. Elise, I know we don't really talk, and I'm not here to argue. I just wanted you to know that I didn't know about the inheritance. Ethan told me it was a gift from your parents. I thought it was his. I know that doesn't make it okay, but I thought you should know. Jay. I stared at the screen for a long time. Long enough to realize something. She wasn't lying. She genuinely didn't know. It didn't excuse anything, but it clarified everything. Ethan had lied to her, sold her a fantasy, bought a life with someone else's future, and now it was unraveling, publicly. Later that night, I sent her a short reply. I appreciate the honesty. This isn't personal. But it is mine. She didn't respond. But she didn't delete her account either. So I knew she read it. The next morning, I got an email from the mediation office. All parties confirmed. Mediation set for Friday. Friday, 9 a.m. My parents, my brother, and me, all of us at one table. Except this time, I wasn't the invisible one. This time, I had the paper trail, the legal backup, and the truth. The storm was about to become a courtroom. Friday came like a cold slap. Rainy. Gray. The kind of morning that makes you want to crawl back into bed and forget your last name. But I didn't. I wore a navy blazer. No makeup. Hair tied back. Clear. Unapologetic. The mediation office was on the 5th floor of a quiet building downtown. Neutral colors. Neutral smells. Fake plants and real tension. When I walked in, they were already there. My parents on one side. Ethan sitting beside them like a sulking teenager, a folder clutched in his hand like it could shield him from what was coming. Sophia walked in right behind me, sharp, silent. Deadly, in the best way. We sat down. The mediator, a soft-voiced man named Terry, began. I want to remind everyone, this is a space for resolution, not retribution. No one said anything. So he continued. Elise, would you like to begin? I nodded. I have no interest in revenge. I just want what was mine. The money was transferred without my consent, in violation of Clause 14 in the trust agreement. I initiated the freeze in accordance with that clause. Terry turned to my father. Would you like to respond? My dad cleared his throat, straightened his back, and lied. We thought we had authority to reallocate the funds temporarily. We planned to return them. Sophia raised her eyebrow. Reallocate? She asked, coolly. Is that why the account was renamed Ethan and Jenna Home Fund? Silence. Then Ethan spoke. You're blowing this out of proportion. It's not like you were using it. I turned to him, voice calm. I was using it. I was using it to plan a future that didn't involve being robbed by my own family. Terry tried to ease the tension. Let's focus on solutions. Elise, what would make this right for you? I pulled out my copy of the release agreement. I want full repayment in 24 months, a formal letter of acknowledgement from all parties admitting the breach, and a signed amendment that removes my parents' custodial rights over the trust permanently. My mom gasped. That's extreme. I didn't flinch. What you did was extreme. Ethan scoffed. She's blackmailing us. Sophia leaned in. She's enforcing legal terms. If you'd like to see blackmail, I can show you the law. More silence. My father's jaw clenched. My mother dabbed her eyes. Ethan looked at the floor. Then Terry spoke. I advise you take this deal. You're not likely to get a better outcome in court. My parents looked at each other. For the first time, I saw it. Not regret, not remorse, just fear. The fear of consequences. The fear of finally being held accountable. They nodded. Slow. Stiff. I'll have the documents ready by Monday, Sophia said. I stood up, looked them all in the eye. I never wanted a fight. But I will never again let you mistake my silence for permission. And with that, I walked out. head high, past the fake plants, through the real storm, and into the calm I had earned. Monday came. So did the paperwork. Signed. Stamped. Final. Sophia emailed me a scanned copy of everything. My parents' signatures. Ethan's, too. Right under a line that read, "Acknowledgement of unauthorized transfer and agreement to repay in full." I stared at it for a while. It didn't feel triumphant. It felt quiet, like placing flowers on a grave. The trust would stay frozen until the first payment cleared. $184,000. Split over 24 months. If they missed a payment, the entire matter would go back to court. And I wouldn't hesitate. That afternoon, I got a call from Aunt Miriam. We hadn't spoken in years. She never picked sides. She just stayed quiet and watched from a distance. "Elise," she said gently, "I just wanted to say, I'm proud of you. Your grandfather would have been too." I felt my throat tighten, but I didn't cry. I'd done enough of that already. That night, I lit a candle by his photo. A quiet thank you. For the clause. For believing in me when no one else did. For giving me the tools to protect myself, even when he was gone. I didn't hear from Ethan again. Not directly. But Jenna posted something 2 days later. A video of her in a one-bedroom apartment holding a box labeled "New Chapter." The caption read, "Starting over doesn't mean failure. Sometimes it means freedom." I didn't like it, didn't comment. But I didn't hate it either. Maybe she learned something. Maybe she was just doing damage control. Either way, she was out. And Ethan? He'd have to face the mirror without her. My parents didn't call. Not to apologize. Not to explain. The silence was louder than before. But this time, I welcomed it. Then, 2 weeks later, I got a letter. Handwritten. From my mother. "Elise, we didn't raise you to be this cold. But maybe we never really knew you. Maybe we only saw what we wanted. Still, we hope one day you'll come back to us. Until then, we'll keep paying, even if it feels like punishment. Love, Mom." I folded the letter, tucked it away in a drawer, didn't reply. Because I wasn't cold. I was just done burning for people who left me in the ashes. Liana came over that night. She poured wine. Looked at me. "So, what now?" I smiled. "Now? I start using the energy I spent fixing others, on building something that's actually mine. And for the first time in years." That didn't feel selfish. It felt like healing. Part 10, Mine Now, All of It. Spring came fast. The city bloomed. And so did I. 3 months had passed since mediation. My brother was making payments. Barely. My parents hadn't spoken to me. But the silence didn't sting anymore. It just meant peace. I used to check my phone constantly, wait for guilt, for backpedaling, for more manipulation disguised as concern. Now, I checked my email, for bank alerts, for client messages, for the life I was building. Because it was mine now. All of it. No asterisks, no stolen pages, no whispered conditions. I applied to grad school again. Same program. Same dream. Only this time, I didn't hesitate when it asked about financial aid. I just smiled and clicked, "Pay tuition in full." Liana cried when I told her. "Not because you got in," she said, "but because you finally stopped asking for permission to be happy." She was right. I had. One evening, as I was cleaning out a box of old photos, I found a picture. Me, Grandpa, and Ethan. I was maybe 9. Gap-toothed, grinning, holding a toy stethoscope. Ethan had his arm around my shoulders. Back when he used to protect me, before he learned to exploit me. I kept the photo, not because I missed him, but because it reminded me who I used to be, and how far I'd come. I didn't hate my family. I just didn't trust them anymore. And trust once broken, doesn't come back with an apology. It comes back with time, with proof, with change. And none of them had offered any. Still, I wasn't bitter. I wasn't angry. I wasn't plotting anything. I was just free. On the day the first repayment cleared, I celebrated. Not with champagne, not with confetti, just a quiet walk to a bookstore. I bought a leather-bound journal and wrote 4 words on the first page. I kept the promise. Not the one to them, to him, to Grandpa, and to myself. To never shrink again. To never be erased. To never let love be a leash. I used to think family was everything. Now I know better. Family is a choice. And sometimes the strongest love you can offer yourself is walking away from the people who never learned how to hold you right. You don't have to stay small just to keep peace. You don't have to pay for their comfort with your silence. And you sure as hell don't have to explain your strength to those who only recognized it when it cost them something. So if you're reading this, if your voice has been stolen, if your value has been overlooked, if your kindness has been treated like currency, let this be your reminder. You are allowed to freeze the funds. You are allowed to press pause. You are allowed to rewrite the terms. This isn't revenge. It's reclamation. And it's yours. What do you think about Elisa's decision? Was she too harsh? Or was this the only way to truly protect herself? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more heartfelt stories about family.